I know you saw me come up here with a cowboy hat and aviators, and we're like, fuck this guy. Okay. Let me apologize and explain for a couple things quick. I got a pretty severe Hikoshin on Sunday. I got popped off a bullet pretty hard, so that explains the glasses. That also explains my notes here. I know it's not a good look to come up here with some notes, but I wrote these before I got concussed, so I think these are dead. And if at any point I'm rambling, just point to the paper and I'll get back on track. I'm super excited to talk to you guys today, and I love that the guys who have already touched on creative and touched on copywriting. I'm going to try to give you the perspective from the brand side, from my day-to-day experience writing copy for a brand the last 4 years. And then at the end of this, I've got a QR code on screen with all the prompts I use with chat that you guys can take and use for your brand. It's super helpful. But when I first got this job at OG, I did not understand our value props at all. I was not a watch guy, and I was really bad at selling our watches. I would write things like, hey, our watches are inlaid with whiskey barrel wood, so if you like whiskey, you should buy this. And I'd say that our watches were really unique, and then when I really needed to close a sale, I just advertised our discounts. But after 3.5 years here, we've got a little bit better at it. And when we wrote and put this next block of copy I'm about to show you, our highest traffic landing page, it increased conversion rate and revenue per session by 35%. And in the last 12 months alone, I could prove an incremental 7 figures worth of revenue gained from copywriting split testing. So this is what it looks and sounds like on our website. We say our watches are built for living and born for legacy. Every watch company claims that their timepieces are built for life, but we like to take it a step further. We say that our watches are built for living. They're built for late night conversations over a bottle of whiskey. They're built for every breath of fresh air you take when exploring the great outdoors. They're built for men who are carting their own path, adventuring, and building themselves a life worth remembering. Upgrade your watch collection today because you've earned a timepiece with as much character and as classic as you are. Now, after hearing that, you guys are off 35% more likely to buy a watch. So I appreciate that. That can make our numbers look great. But in a world where meta is acting like meta this year, consumer buying habits seem to be on the decline. Copywriting is one of very few levers I can point to as a reason why we're growing 90% this year after growing 100% last year after growing 40% the year before. So this stuff is massively important. And in the next 15 minutes, I want to teach you how to unlock copywriting as a performance lever like we have. And like I said, you don't have to worry about scrambling to take notes or anything. I've got all the prompts come in at the end. Jack touched on discovering your customers' why. But before I ask why our customers will buy from us, I ask why our category even exists in the first place. All too often, brands fall into the trap of advertising the minute differences that make their products better or more unique or more luxurious than their competitors. But I would challenge you guys to take a step back, and I got a prompt that can help with this, to really ask why your category exists. Now, I'll give you a hint for us. The watch category does not exist to tell time today. We all have like 6 other devices on us at all times that do it. That might have been why they were invented in the first place. But today, watches are not timekeeping pieces. A watch, when a man buys it for himself, is a flex. It's a status symbol. It's a sign of an accomplishment. He buys it to mark the milestone. And when someone buys a watch for someone else, it's a token of appreciation and a show of respect. For us, it'd be really obvious if I got this part wrong. If I was running an ad today and said, you should buy a regional brand watch because it tells time, you might think I was pretty dumb before the concussion. But instead, we are looking at why the category exists in the first place. So instead of saying our watches are good at selling time, we speak into the real reasons why our customers are buying from us. Most commonly, our customers are women, wives and girlfriends of the guys who end up wearing our watches. So our best performing headline in the last couple of years has fulfilled their need to show their hardworking, blue-collar husband who goes to work every day and provides for the family. It's a way for them to show them how much they appreciate, how much that they see and hear and feel the sacrifices that they make every day. And this is not us pushing traditional gender roles on our customers. This is what we read in our customer reviews. So instead of saying, buy this watch because your husband loves drinking whiskey and this is inlaid with whiskey barrel wood, trust me, these women don't want to reinforce the whiskey drink. They haven't. But when we tell them, show their man he's worth every second, the gift as unique and storied as he is, that speaks to someone. And I'm not talking about our watches at that point. I'm not talking about what they're made from. I'm not talking about the movements. I am convincing them to buy a thing, anything, to show their man how much they appreciate. Now, correct answering why people are buying so much brings us to the who. And in this exercise, I like to ask chat to list out a bunch of positive adjectives that could be used to describe both our products and the men who end up wearing them. And that prompt leads us to something I've been calling our $1 billion headline. And I called that because a $1 billion brand stole it. So the format is pretty simple. Say our products are adjective and adjective, just like the target demo that uses it or wears it. For us, we say that our watches are rugged and dependable, just like the men who wear them. This is an example of us bragging about the quality and the bill of our watches without bragging. Because while we're talking about our watches here, what the customer is hearing isn't about our watches. It's about rugged and dependable men wear this kind of watch. So this is a way to align the positive identity and positive attributes that our customers want to see in themselves and matching it up to a product that fits that caliber of quality. It's not just us who are using it. Texta during the Father's Day sale said their knives are sharp and to the point, just like Dad. And what's not Father's Day, I've seen them talk about their pans being durable, just like the chefs who trust them. Rage says their wedding bands are as reliable as the men who wear them. Connor's smarter than me, but if I gave one piece of advice, I would try testing husband instead of men. We've seen that personalizing these as much as possible makes a really big impact on performance. When we first tested that headline, it would show him he's worth it. When we change it to show your man, it crushed. For Father's Day, we'll change it to show your dad. And we have some variations that say show your husband as well, and it does really good. And my favorite example of this, Jack Daniels said their whiskey is bold and complex, just like those who enjoy it. All right, so we've answered the what, why, the who, and the how will be answered when I give you all the prompts at the end. But right now, I want to ask how much. How much value can we pack into our copy? How can we more effectively communicate throughout our funnel that our products hold a lot of value? If I told you that our watches are made for wood, from wood, and then I told you that wood is one of the most affordable and renewable resources that we have on the entire flat earth that we live on, then you would think $500 for a watch made out of wood is crazy. You'd probably point out there's no reason to spend that much and that there are cheaper wood watches out there, and you'd be right. So that's not what we tell people. What I'm about to read to you is a new headline and copy that I wrote to communicate the value and the history and the heritage that goes into our watches. And after a month of split tested this on our site, it increased profit revenue per session by 20%. We say our whiskey barrel watches are a century in the making. Oak trees grow for at least 100 years before they're cut down and crafted into whiskey barrels. Then they age our favorite whiskeys for a decade or two before we inlay the wood into our watches. Each piece doesn't just tell time. It tells the stories of the lumberjacks, craftsmen, distillers, and whiskey drinkers that work together spanning a century to bring you this watch. Upgrade your collection because you deserve a watch that's the right unique as. After I tell you that story, after I force you to think that someone's great-great-grandfather planted this tree in the late 1800s, and then that tree lived through the Great Depression, World Wars, and a couple failed moon landings. After I force you to think about the history and time that went into this, when you scroll down and see that $500 price point, you're not here. It's not coming from nowhere. It's coming from a place of heritage and history, and there's a lot of labor that went into it. So this copy, it increased our conversion rate, was awesome, but it really increased our AOV. People were buying multiple watches from us, and they were choosing the higher price options on that page. For us, being a brand that competes in the watch industry where most brands do have 100 years of history, this is our way of injecting that kind of heritage into our brand. Because although we've only been making watches for 12 years, each piece does have 100 years of history. Now, even if your products are not made out of oak trees, you can still do this for your brand. Even talk about the years it took to develop and perfect your design. You can talk about the hard costs of the materials required. This is where I think, does any brand have a margin for like Warren Bright that you're not proud of? This is where you should use it to your advantage. I saw a couple sheepish hands go up. Use it. Tell your customers how much it costs you to source the material and build it, and then pay your American-based staff fair wages, and then tell them that every order, produces $20. That supports a family-owned business. That's your profit. If we can frame it in a way where they understand the value and they're really happy to support. All right. Do what, why, when. Whiskey. I think we got all the W. The last one is when. We talk about when our customers are ready to buy. And I'm not just talking about Father's Day or Prime Day or Christmas. I'm talking about their personal lives. I'm talking about the individual moments in someone's life that can either positively or negatively affect their buying behavior. Let me give you a couple examples. When I'm stressed out about work, when it's Q4 and I'm working too hard, I get Taco Bell Uber Eats to my house way more often than the rest of the year. And after a night where I drink 11 whiskeys, I think going to Waffle House at 2 a.m. is a really good idea. When I'm feeling confident and accomplished and like I'm crushing it, I buy cowboy hats and boots and watches. And when I'm feeling beat down by the world and frustrated and stuck, I don't buy anything. We all know the biggest example of this, right? When men are going through a midlife crisis, what do they buy? Or fire, sports cars, or Coldplay tickets. This capturing a moment in your customers' life when they're primed to buy a necessity before you can write copy. See, my job isn't to sell a watch to every whiskey drinking guy. The founder of OG's in the back, he might disagree with that. You put his IREZA. But here maybe I think it's my job to put up content and messages that resonates with those guys when they are primed to buy. When they have worked hard enough, hit a milestone, got married, had a kid, sold a business, when they feel like they've earned a new watch. That's what I walk by copy speaking to. The last thing we're going to touch on with when. ChatGPT can explain it better than I can. But valence represents kind of the directional emotional energy of an ad or of a piece of copy. And intensity speaks to the energy level. You put those in a quadrant and you can get ads that are either like sad and high energy, happy and high energy, sad and low energy, happy and low energy. Feeding your current buzzwordy copy into Chef and asking it to identify the valence and intensity zones and then rewrite it in the others. It's a fantastic way to be able to change your way, to be able to talk to people at different stages in their lives, because the different forms of emotions are going to resonate with people differently based on how they're feeling. So I'm going to give you that last thing on when our copy speaks to when guys are feeling accomplished, when they feel like they are carving their own path and building themselves a life worth remembering. So I'm gonna give you all my props now. Let me give you this with the warning. Chat's awesome, but it's not a human. I do not copy and paste much straight from chat and onto our site, but I think it's a great brainstorming copy or brainstorming partner. All the prompts on here, you could spend 15 minutes copy pasting this into chat. It'll give you a ton of new angles to test. And if you test them on your website, see what performs, and then roll those messages out into ads, I promise it's going to be a really positive performance lever for you. How was that?
Awesome. Any questions? For sure. You know I always have questions. So first one I'm going to put in, I think it's important to understand one of the things you said. Facebook's going to Facebook. What Nate has been talking about a lot of follow along with him is copywriting. Copywriting is platform agnostic, correct? Have you found, though, that your copywriting has a bigger lever on certain things? Like, has your email seen the biggest bump? Has it to Facebook? Where are you seeing it? You're getting the biggest returns? Where people should start first if they're going to lean into copyright testing?
Yeah, I like testing copy on our website first. It's very backwards for how a lot of people approach creative strategy. But the way that I look at it is if I can put a block of copy on our website that increases performance, then I can be way more confident to go put that new copy into ads and emails and develop a ton of creatives around it. And I always like to start with kind of the highest leverage thing. If our landing page converts better, every single ad going to that landing page is going to work better. So that's where I like to start. And then we can be super confident to roll it out into ads, email, influencer reads, anything else you can think of.
Awesome. One question and I'll come over to you. So I know what you use, and I think this is a good point, right? There's lots of different softwares. There's lots of different things you can use. I know that you, Nate, use a specific one. How are you testing? What are you using to test? How do you know all these numbers, the revenue increases, et cetera?
Yep. So we use a tool called Intelligence. I think they're like $300 a month. Super cheap. If you're on Shopify, you can use them. You can test copy, headlines, prices, offers. But it's one of the most valuable tools in our tech stack. It takes me maybe 10 minutes to set up a new test in there, and then gives you all the data, nice little pretty graphs that I understand. So yeah, shout out Intelligence.
Yeah, again, I wanted to make sure because I know one of my questions wouldn't, and if I didn't know, how are you getting all this data? How are you seeing that you have $1 million, 7 figures plus, right, incremental revenue specifically from copywriting? So this goes into knowing that what your capabilities are. You don't have the capabilities, figure out a way that you can test, you can track, you can iterate, come back. Yes, sir.
It might be in that doc, so I apologize. But what is your high level create process for copywriting? Or where you start, where you go to, how many times you iterate, and how do you manage that again? So speed to market for especially smaller teams, 1-2 founders, making sure you're putting in the effort needed, but also making sure getting what's out enough to just keep whatever.
Yeah, so everything in that doc, I think if you're new to writing, you should do all of it right away, just kind of for the brand overall. And then I reheat a bunch of steps when it comes to new product drops, new collabs. I just tailor the questions to hey, not why isn't he buying a watch from us? Would someone buy a watch with our collab, of course? And try to dig into those core reasons and how they might be different. But basically, when I write copy, I use some version of those prompts and then just whatever questions I have. Spend a half hour in chat, just chatting. Then I typically write the first draft. I do it back to chat. There's a prompt in there asking how to refine it. They're super valuable. But yeah, just it's basically I have a meeting with Jack for a half hour, and to come out of it, see his stuff.
Yeah, and I know I asked this question before of everybody about who was using it in their workflow. How many people use Chat or some other large language model as a sparring partner to go through ideas, right? And that's what I think that for most of us, that should be the number one thing we do. If you don't have somebody or a small team, you can magnify yourself by spending time inputting the best information, right? You guys can find Nate on Twitter. You can take every post he's ever done, throw it in there, and now you have all the information that he has about copyright. You can take any of his YouTube videos. There's apps that you can take that can download the actual full, every word he said in there, upload those files into chat. Now you have Nate to spark. Right, so it's you can create your own world of how do I lean into more of these things. So I think it's really cool, and I know Nate's really leaning into that. John,
Yeah, I've been following the Rachel Ray. So I met Ryan years and years ago. And, I see how much she's brought to their role, and there's even my question is like, should you remember some of the messaging of process moments where you had this like ahs that kind of like changed? And these, some of those jump points and trajectories that you guys moving.
Yeah, two big ones come to mind. My first year there was the first time in a while that we had collabed with a distillery. Made a business trip to Buffalo Trace in Kentucky. Work sucks, But we went there and spent a couple of days drinking whiskey, shooting photography, talking to their master, to the distiller, and that was a bit unlike for realizing, like, oh, we're not making watches. Like, we're bringing all this history, all this process and craftsmanship to light in a piece you carry with you, eh? So that was one of them. The second one was on the kissing side, when these women really didn't care what the watch was made of, what it looked like, what the move it was. All they wanted was to say thank you to their husband in a really tangible way that you can think about every morning, like, let's use watch on. So those were kind of the two big ones that got us started on everything. And then when I ran that first intelligence test and like it ripped, I was like, oh, I should be spending as much as my time possible on this. And now years after that, I still think I spend enough time writing copy for us. It's just such a great lever. We've spent, just like some other CRO stuff, we've spent so much time and energy and effort testing like different site structure elements and testing a bunch of like traditional CRO stuff. I don't think one of them has produced the lift that a new headline does. So it's a really great, like, low effort, high impact tech. Fair.
Hey, are you talking about EQ Customer? That's a really good business.
My other business, I noticed the copies great. There are a couple of those. I have some.
Yeah, just couple last known. Yeah, like this. You deserve it. You watch this. It's very for you.
Why just one watch? If you're optimizing for like AOV, sure, so it could be encouraging. Like, I don't know,
Where to a time? Where do you look at what?
Yeah. So we do say upgrade your collection at the beginning of that. We also got the little BYOB build your own bundle deal that rips.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think increasing AOV for all brands is super powerful. We've tested that last sentence quite a bit. We've tested rugged and unique against rugged and dependable, smooth and classic, and a bunch of other adjectives in there. I don't think we've tested the quantity of watches there. That might be next up.
See, you got data that we get that the is that. Are you sure like well blood time? Or you like AB? Or you like?
It's typically AB. Yeah, only when like it's a brand new product up to like ABCD was I have no clue. But when it's iterations on what works, it's just AB.
These are P headers. Is that?
So these are on the top of, we call them landing pages for us. They're glorified collection pages. There's a banner above them, and that just product grid full load down. That's our most effective ad traffic destination. We sent traffic to PDBs. It doesn't win out. So this is a good way for us to get like a little bit of content in, a little bit of persuasion, but then we're a fashion brand, so we want to see all the options and take it there.
And they're new to what Patty was saying. We're connecting like the ad that Joe Cuba's page is talking about. So the overtreat.
Real score. Yeah, so that's why we test on the website first. Because once we prove that this copy works on site, then like the entire next week of ad creative is like, hey, make content and make settings and videos that have this message out, and then send it else here.
if you buy this fatigue over, and like on the ad side, you know, and everybody finds that fatigue over time, even if they're ever forever shows, then, you know, but then, you know, you're tying this back to the ad fatigue, so that you kind of reiterate the ad, or you iterate gets to like, get efforts, or you pass it, so.
Sure. I wouldn't call any of our own economy fatigued, but it evolves. Like that first headline for Gizdig, the first time we wrote it, it said, "Show him he's worth it," and that did better than what we had before. And then changed to "Show your man he's worth it," and then I threw in a little watch bunch, "Show your man he's worth it" every second, and then we added the second part of that to say, "Show him he's worth it with a gift as unique and storied as he is." So it's hard to say fatigued because I'm constantly trying to beat what one of the last tests. Ad creative fatigues, and we have to update that. But I tell you, like, it's been 3 Father's Days and 4 Christmases in a row where this has been some version of the winning headline. And spoiler alert, this Christmas I'm going to run as "That's it, this." And we'll test the adjectives, we'll test a couple different ways of saying it, but those core emotions don't choose.
You tried an ad busted, or doesn't it?
We tried both. We have really good luck with dad around Father's Day. We try husband a bit, but "Show your man" is a little bit broader while still letting the woman feel like that's first. Like it's a possessive thing. So we do it a bit, but "Your man" is winning our support.
Sir. iPod defines the match and trade reason to take certain messaging of a copy.
Which is that you could have some free copy here, but you're trying to say about high value walls and not shooting that thing. It'd be fine with me because of the ad, but have you tried that on doing copy? Just have like eerie below it, it just doesn't look, or
Yep. So the question is awesome. How do you match up the visuals to the message is super important. So for us, like these Valentine's Day ads, we shoot them on softer materials. These are very much designed to pique the interest of what. Where do we advertise our built for living and worn for lazy cotton? Those images are shot on wood and leather and rustic stone. So matching up the visuals to the messaging and to who we're trying to use crazy. We've done a little bit of what I think you call ugly ads, some BEC stuff. We've got a couple to rip super hard. We've got a handful that flopped super hard. But for us, static images just work so good time and time again. Our team is good at them. So these ads look like kind of 8% of what we've.
Last white sheet coming out right now.
Yeah. When you're listing your brand on platforms for discovery, like a Gather Flow or Customer Monitor or something like that, or drive traffic out to your site, or are you driving the traffic to your homepage, to an existing product page, or are you creating first patients for those push ads?
Depends where we're promoting them. So we work with a lot of like YouTube creators that exist in the whiskey space. We send them to our landing page that talk about the history of oak trees and barrels. There are times when we create custom landing pages for them. I think it was a year or 2 ago, we ran a placement on Black Friday with the Chive. Is anyone familiar with the Chive? They have a thing that's like Black Friday babes or whatever, and like art trials that look good. And the ad slide adopted was pretty cheap. So for that one, we wrote "Give him wood" this Valentine's Day. And then the copy on that page was a little, I don't know, rasher. And then we also had one where a watcher sitting on a pile of condoms. It said, "This Valentine's Day, give your man something he actually wants to wear." And that's this out. By far, it didn't work that well, but I like a lot. So,
All right, awesome stuff. Thank you, Nate. Everybody, let's hear it. Thank you, Connor.